All right, bang, bang. NFL season is upon us. DFS Dads, we know some golf, but we also know NFL. We've been playing fantasy football for a number of years, so we're excited to bring to you our research that we do. We talk amongst ourselves all week long, and hopefully you can learn about our picks and our method behind our philosophy of each week of the build layout, so you can get some really good value out of this. And if you're new, please hit the subscribe, leave us a comment. Just communicate with us. We'd love to have you part of the DFS Dads. We have a Slack. You can join. Any questions you might have on who to play, who to sit, that is the perfect place for that. Also, just leave a comment below. Use code Route Combo for a free month. You can do a week. Month is your best bet there. Within this month, we have PGA Championship, the U.S. Open. We have NFL kicking off, and also college football as well with our lines there. So let's get started here. Price and Dustin, what are you thinking whenever you go taking a look at week one? We have no preseason, and it's going to be pretty interesting. It kind of reminds me of a showdown with this first week in the first round of golf. You don't really know what to expect.
Yeah, I think, one of the other big things is a lot of movement, quarterback, obviously Tom Brady, Phillip Rivers, you got some rookie quarterbacks, Tyrod Taylor out there, old Fitzmagic back at the helm, who should be great for 4 weeks like he usually is every year. But yeah, so it's a lot of change, a lot of, differences as far as teams and makeups. And then you also throw in all the COVID with no preseason. So I think it's going to be a fun week because it's freaking NFL's back. You know what I mean? Go Cowboys, by the way. So we'll see what happens, how it plays out, but I'm really excited.
So you said the NFL is back, but is Texas back?
I think so. We'll see on that too.
Well, you Price, what are your thoughts on this first week, and what kind of build are you looking at?
Man, I'm stoked football's back. We've been waiting for this for months. All the people saying what's going to happen, I don't care. I'm just happy it's here. No preseason means it's probably going to be sloppy as shit start. A lot of penalties. I'm kind of sad because, I'm a Texans fan and we get the fucking Chiefs opening night. So last time we spotted them, they spotted us 21 points and still beat the brakes off of us. But I'm stoked. That's some good games for this week. It does kind of suck. The main slate, you don't get to use Mahomes, Watson, or Dak because that's 3 of the best 4 fantasy quarterbacks to use every week.
Well, Watson minus Hopkins will be determined.
Man, he's still going to – whatever. He'll be all right. Speaking of Hopkins, how about $55 million for 2 years? No wonder they couldn't keep his ass. He's making almost as much as Deshaun is.
That's nuts.
He doesn't drop balls, though. I mean, shit. He had like one drop ball in the last 2 years.
Crazy. He didn't win much playoff games, so. No, best of luck to him in Arizona, but whatever. We got Brandon Cooks. Woo.
Is he going to play week 1?
Maybe. But I like this week a lot. I'm going to go probably a balanced build. Usually on DraftKings, for me at least, I almost always try to get a quarterback who has some rushing upside. It's very rare I want someone who's just going to stand in the pocket, which luckily these days most guys are mobile. But, I mean, Lamar at 8,100 is, I think, a little too pricey. When you can just drop down and save $1,100 and go to Russ. I really like Russell Wilson this week. I think he's going to be good. I mean, they run the ball a lot, but he runs it with them. And he's going to take shots downfield to big boy DK and block it. So I'm going to probably stay the conservative route, not go anyone too pricey. I usually punt defense too most weeks just because, I mean, you have the random weeks where, like, the Patriots last year who just destroyed everybody like 5 or 6 weeks in a row. But other than that, it's find a place to check to the Dolphins. But or maybe this year find anyone who plays the Niners. But we'll see. What are you thinking for how you going to roll out this week, Christopher?
So last year I went every week 3 running backs no matter what, and I cashed pretty much every single week, which was really awesome. But my upside was very limited. I didn't never cash big at all or came close to cashing big, but I had all really solid lineups, and so that's all you can really ask for is making money at the end of the season. So that was nice. But for the quarterback position, I really do like having a rushing quarterback, mobile quarterback, but I like some of the value plays in the quarterback position here a little bit more, especially this first week. I'm not really too sure where everyone's going to be. So I'm going to actually not punt on quarterback, but I'm going to spend a lot less on QB and allow myself to get 3 really good running backs and play it a little bit more conservative this week because we don't really know week 1, no preseason, where some of these teams are truly at. You can read all the beat reporters and all that, but at the end of the day, if you have 3 bell cow running backs, the chance of you cashing, I think, go up. So that's where I'm going to go. And with the quarterback breakdown position, and the way we're going to break down these is we're going to break down a high-end player we like from each position, a low-end player, and then someone that we would want to fade. So I'll start it out here with the quarterback position. And on the high end, yes, that you have the top 2 quarterbacks from Russ and Lamar that can move and scramble, get some touchdowns that way. I would prefer, like Price said, with Russell Wilson, with the game script of Atlanta and their offense being high-powered along with Seattle and their receivers that they have. But I'm going to play that game. I really like that game, but I would rather go down and save 300 and get Matt Ryan. Yes, he's stiff, but I really like, you'll see once we get in the tight end position, his new tight end, no more Hooper, but the game script here and with Matt Ryan at 6,700, I really like with Calvin and Julio. So that's my higher tier play, but that's going to be my secondary lineup. My main lineup, I'm going to play 2 lineups this week, and my main lineup is going to focus on Jimmy G. So Jimmy G in this whole price range that he's at right here at the 5,800 range, there's a few good plays that there's a couple players that I think could be pretty interesting this week. But Jimmy G is my favorite play. I drafted him in our fantasy league, but I'm not going to be a homer. There's a reason why. Put up 30 fantasy points playing the Cardinals last year. In one of those games, his stud tight end was out. He still put up 30 points. Yes, the Cardinals added the daunted Isaiah Simmons from Clemson, who can play in the box safety, or he can play corner, who knows, middle linebacker. But that's not going to affect Kittle this week. It's not going to affect him. Anybody that thinks that is crazy. It's his first NFL game, and he's a rookie. So, and Kittle is an elite talent.
Kittle's a monster.
Yeah, and so I had some reservations with Jimmy G and started to waver off of him until the reports are coming out. Debo, my boy from South Carolina, love Debo, is going to be. It looks like he's going to play along with their rookie wide receiver as well. So that gives me a lot more confidence. And the Cardinals, at the end of the day, their coach is from Texas Tech. They don't play defense, just like in the NFL. They don't like to play a lot of defense. So I'm gonna take that along with last year, Jimmy G lighting him up. He's gonna light him up again this year. And at his price point, I'm able to not necessarily punt on a quarterback because he's not super cheap, but he's cheap enough to where it allows me to go back up and grab a second high-end running back. And then when you look at it, the 49ers, they catch and run after completions. They're one of the tops in the league. And the stat here is the Cardinals defense ranks 30th in explosive pass play percentage allowed. So I think that's all going to bode well for our boy Jimmy G. So that's who I like in quarterbacks. My top tier, then my lower tier. So a couple statues back there, but this how it worked out this week. And then for the one guy I want to fade, we were talking about this right before the pod started. But the man, how many kids does he have, Price?
Like 9.
Him
and his wife have enough to make a football team.
Okay, so we're talking about, if you don't know, Philly Phil Rivers. He has two good wide receivers, but he is 200. He's 6K, 200 more dollars than our boy Jimmy G, the handsome man. So I'm going to completely fade on him. I think he is a falling knife. He's getting old. His stats of throwing the ball down the field just tanked. It's been tanking the last couple of years. He's going to throw to those running backs, but this whole game, the Jags and Colts, I don't want any part of it at all. I want no part of it. So Phillip Rivers at 6,000 is my major sit player, fade player.
Yeah, I'm going to give a little disclaimer on anybody that's offended in the Big 12. He doesn't. He's an equal opportunist, right? He's an Alabama guy, so everybody gets the same treatment.
Everybody in the Big 12 sucks. That's correct. Everybody's Big 12 defense sucks. It's not because of the offense; it's because of the defense. And no, they don't even care. And the Cardinals it's just like that, like their coach. Let's talk about something for a second. How did he get a head coaching job in the NFL? He was terrible at Texas Tech. They're like, let's fire this guy, and then the Cardinals are like, we'll pick you up.
Right place, right time.
Innovative.
Yeah, innovative. And we'll see. We'll see.
He hasn't done bad. I mean, he's done better than I thought that he would, to be honest with you.
Helps when you have Kyler Murray.
Yeah, you got Kyler Murray back there, man.
And D. Hopkins.
Yeah.
And your boy Kenyon Drake. All right, where are we moving to next?
Those running backs.
Well, Dustin, who do you like in quarterbacks?
In quarterbacks, for me, I think there's a couple interesting plays here. One, and I know it's crazy, but Joe Burrow. The Chargers do have a good defense, but
no Derwin James.
Yeah, but the thing is they're going to be down, right? So they're going to be just like they are every year, and they have weapons. AJ Green's back, Tyler Boyd, obviously Mixon out of the backfield. So I mean, to me, it's a guy that could put up some points, especially in trash time. And that's the thing about DraftKings. We don't give a shit when they get the points, as long as they get the points. So if he gets 150 yards in the fourth quarter because they're just playing slack defense, then so be it. But
I think they call that the Minshew method.
Yeah. So I kind of have looked around there. Obviously, I probably won't do that, but unless I'm going like a crazy build, I think that Big Ben.
He plays Monday though.
Yeah, no, but all the reports coming out is he's playing well if we're doing a Monday slate. But obviously, I like Josh Allen just because he can run. He's adding Diggs. He still got his weapons from last year. I know he said he wasn't going to run as much, but they always say that. Right?
Cam's been saying that for years.
Yeah, I like Matty Ice every year. The dude's going to chunk the ball. I think over the past 5 years, they've probably thrown it more than any other team or right up there. So familiar faces there: Julio, Ridley. They got Gurley now, so they're going to score points whether they're losing. He's a trash time guy too sometimes. So those are kind of some of the guys I'm looking at, just kind of off the top of my head.
Who would your fade be in this range?
Which range we talking? 6K and up?
I would say so, because the cheaper guys, there's no point in fading them because most people won't roster them.
Yeah, I'm probably going to take a hard pass on Mr. Newton just because of Miami's got great corners. And he's never been known as the most accurate passer, and he doesn't have any weapons really. I mean, unless he's digging at Edelman all day. So I don't think the yardage is going to be there at all. He might get a couple rushing touchdowns, but I'm just going to pass on that one. Just given the matchup, his first game, he hasn't played well in the past year. So yeah, 2 years. I'm gonna fade Mr. Newton.
I'm all about fading the guy he replaced. You couldn't pay me to play Tom Brady right now. Like, he's old. He can't fucking throw the ball down the field. Mike Evans just hurt his hamstring. All you got to do is, like, what? Gronk's going to come back and magically be the player he was 4 years ago when he wasn't hurt all the time. They have Fournette, who's been bad enough to get cut by the Jaguars. McCoy, who's bounced around from team to team. And Ronald Jones. Like, get the fuck out of here. But it's Russ. It's Russ week, baby. Russ is going to leave you the promised land against the Falcons. He's going to put up 35 to 40 fantasy points.
Russ is as safe as anybody, and he has been for the past 3 years for the most part. I mean,
but ironically, my cheap guy really wanted to play. I think Fitzpatrick.
Like I said, the first 4 weeks, the dude's
because Parker's healthy, Williams is healthy, Gesicki's there. He led the team in rushing, so he obviously runs. He's been the offense, and I think the Patriots had the most players opt out.
Yeah,
including Dante Hightower. So they're missing some people on defense. So at 5,300, it was between him or Haskins because they're both super cheap. And if you're gonna play cash, you either go Lamar, Russell, or you drop down to one of those cheap guys. So that's just my take on there. And then we go into the fun spot of all the running backs this week, where Chris, I think, is going to make his living picking 3 studs up here. Are you going to take C-Mac?
Yes. I have in one lineup C-Mac, and the other I moved down to Kamara, but C-Mac I think is the safest play. He has the highest floor, and the Raiders and that offense, they're gonna pass the ball with the boy from LSU coming over, so that Clyde Edwards-Helaire caught a lot of balls out of the backfield, so I think C-Mac's going to keep trucking and rolling. His price point is really high, and Kamara at 7,200. It's a lot of savings, but with some of the different lower tier, going a little lower with the quarterback position can allow you to go high twice up there. I also like the play of going Kamara and then going down to someone like Miles Sanders is a really good play. But I'm really kind of going back and forth a lot with we were talking about the Patriots with James White. Because are you going to roster Sony Michel? Is this a Sony week, or it just seems like James White is he's going to catch the ball out of the backfield. And at 6K, to me, that's a really good flex position for him. Or to go down a little bit further, 300 less for Jonathan Taylor. I really like that play as well. I think he could just shoot out of the gates pretty quick. And I don't know if the Jags want to play football this year. I think they want to go 0-16.
They want Trevor.
So they might, yeah. They just might let him score at will. And I think Jonathan Taylor can have a coming out party. He rates off the charts with his athletic ability. So that's kind of where I'm at right there. I would say my biggest thing with the running back position that I know I'm not going to do is I'm staying the hell away from all of the Tampa Bay Buccaneer players. I don't know what the hell is going to happen on that running back squad, but you have McKinnon, also Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette now. I don't know what they're going to do there. So I would say to stay away as far away as possible of the Bucks running backs there to sit.
What if I'd have told you a few years ago, or even last year, that Mostert, Taylor, David Johnson, James White would all be more than Le'Veon Bell?
I would say Le'Veon probably went to the Jets.
Yeah.
Still, though, man, it's like, wow. I mean,
so what do you think about like LaShawn McCoy? It's just insane, that backfield. I don't know what to think about that backfield. Are you going to just completely stay away from the Bucks backfield now?
You can play anybody from there.
No.
I think there's 3 backfields you just completely stay away from. Then you're going to stay away from the Dolphins backfield and the Lions backfield.
Yeah.
What about the 49ers? Did I say McKinnon with the McKinnon with the 49ers? That's another backfield you got to stay away from. I meant McCoy with the Bucks.
Because they have 3 guys. Because Tevin Coleman, it's
Mostert.
And they restructured Marshall's contract to give him more money so he'd stay. So obviously they like him. I mean, he dominated at the end of the year.
And that's the thing about the Niners is they have all those guys, but they pop every now and then. I mean, there was plenty of times last year where they would go for, 25-plus fantasy points. And
It's a Jimmy G week, though, D-Reed.
Oh, okay.
No, but those three running backs, like, in the first week, as the year goes on, you can kind of tell with the 49ers, I feel like. But week one, how do you play any of the Bucs guys? LaShawn McCoy is going to get touches.
The only way you touch these is if you're playing the Millie Maker. I remember like 4 or 5 years ago, some dude played fucking Danny Woodhead randomly who went off in week one, and that's why he won. But other than that, like, I don't want to mess with them. If Montgomery was healthy, I wouldn't mess with him or Cohen. Don't want to touch the fucking Ravens backfield where they draft J.K. Dobbins, have Ingram, there's just so many like muddled backfields right now. It doesn't really make sense unless you're throwing darts out trying to win $1 million, which is usually a losing proposition. And just go with these guys who are actually going to do well. Are going to get the touches because volume supersedes everything else in fantasy football.
That's where James White and Jonathan Taylor make me a little nervous week one because I don't fully know where they're going to be at, but I think they can both big-time hit. And Cam Newton likes to throw to the running back.
I'm opposite on you with the Colts backfield. I think Jonathan Taylor, after like week 5, he's going to take over for Marlon Mack. But not having an actual offseason preseason games, I think, hurts the rookies coming in. Yes. I think it hurts him and Dobbins. And Mack is going to be their pass catcher, at least on early downs. Obviously, hurry up is going to be Naheem Hines, or how the fuck you say his name.
Yeah. But see, that's the crazy thing to me is Mack, I mean, obviously, besides injuries, has been really good.
I mean, Chris and I bet him to lead the league in rushing last year because the Colts line is amazing.
Well, I don't think he disappears. I just think they're going to just use him kind of both because of his injuries. And that's probably why they draft him. I don't think it's a lack of faith in his ability. It's a lack of faith in his body to hold up.
I think they're going to use the shit on him this year and then get rid of him and use Jonathan Taylor. So they don't have to extend him.
Yeah, exactly. But in order to, maybe they want to get some value out of him, halfway through the year, they play him a lot and then try to trade him or something. Who knows?
What running backs are you plugging in this week, D?
For me, I like Nixon. He just got paid. He's one of those. He's a 3-down back. He's solidified. He hardly ever comes out. And so for me, 6,700, he's going to get all the touches. He got a rookie quarterback, probably checked down a lot, just out of necessity a lot of times. So I like Nixon at 6,700. I like Kamara. I know he's facing, the number one rush D from last year, but we know how dynamic he is out of the backfield. So he's intriguing to me. He's at 7,200, so a little higher. And then I like Jacobs. Performed really well last year. Obviously had some injury stuff, but Carolina was pretty bad defensively last year. And so I like Jacobs there. I kind of like the 6,800 range. Eckler's a little bit scary for me just because of the quarterback change, but surely they'll use him the same way. I just kind of want to wait a week to kind of see what he does. But he's another guy that's going to be, 80% snap share, I think. And obviously he's dynamic out of the backfield. So that's the kind of guys I look for that, like you said, are going to get touches most of the time and aren't sharing it with anybody.
Yeah, the last two you touched on is who obviously I took Eckler in our home league. Yeah. I think he's going to just beast mode all year. You don't have to worry about Melvin Gordon coming in and doing anything. It's his show to run, and he was a fucking monster when he got the ball. I'm going to use Josh Jacobs this week. Carolina, their run defense was garbage. Kuechly retired.
Yeah.
There's no reason why Gruden's not just going to run that motherfucker to the ground again. I thought I'd be all in on Kamara, but then the more you look into the Bucks defense and the more people are all saying they're going to use them, I might just pivot, and that's why I'm going to use Eckler instead. I saved $200. I know Eckler is going to be out there a ton. Obviously, Kamara's still bitching about his contract, wants new money, and then he actually has someone who can come in and vulture goal line carries from him, and Latavius Murray.
Yep.
The only other two people, I know Chris doesn't like him, but Gurley going to Atlanta, I mean, he's going to get 15 to 18 touches.
Yeah.
He signed a 1-year prove-it deal because he got cut from the Rams after not performing. So he has to do well if he wants to stay in the league. And my cheap guy, I like Tariq Cohen. Montgomery looks like he's not going to play. So Cohen goes from the hurry-up offense, third down back, who can get you 5-6 catches, to also getting 65% of those snaps as far as rushing goes. So give me the home run hitting ability against a mediocre Detroit defense. I'll take that all day. I think people will go to Gibson for Washington just because they got rid of Adrian Peterson, and he's going to be the talked about dude who's 4K, so you can get some savings that way. But, I mean, I don't really want to mess with Washington's offense, to be honest. They have a terrible offensive line. Haskins is mediocre as can be. They have one offensive weapon, which is McLaurin. But
who I like.
Yeah, like I said, if you're not going to play from like Miles Sanders to Kamara in that range, or even maybe Dalvin Cook, depending on if he's actually going to play or not, so who's another person who wants a new contract, it's a tough week to kind of drop down. Marlon Mack, though, I just want to click him because I know they're going to beat the shit out of the Jaguars. Like, him and Taylor could both have 20 fucking carries. I mean, the Jaguars are going to do nothing. But I don't know. Him and Cohen be my cheat guys. I'm going to fade Kamara, and I'm going to use Eckler and Jacobs.
I like it. What about Dusty? You want to start us off with the wide receivers?
Yeah. So looking at the wide receivers, obviously you got the guys that are always up there: Thomas, Julio, Adams, Godwin, and Cooper, all 7+. My favorite of these guys this week is Devontae Adams. People think he had a down year last year, and he still, I think, scored 21 fantasy points a game. I think Rodgers is coming in with a chip on his shoulder. They still have the same guys they had last year, so he's, de facto number one. He's going to get, 8 to 12 targets probably a game. And so I like him. Obviously, any of these guys are freaking studs, but Devontae's my one guy from that range that I'm going to have rostered. He's 400 cheaper than Julio. We know Julio sometimes doesn't get the volume that I think Devontae gets, but obviously Julio's, can freaking go crazy. So Devontae I like from that group. The next tier down, I really like Kenny Golladay. Speaking of fantasy drafts, I took him in our league. I think he's severely undervalued this week. He, before Stafford got hurt, I mean, he was just ridiculous. Still scored almost 17 fantasy points a game for the year, and he's gotten better every year, and he's still very young. So I see a lot of upside, and I see people maybe staying away from him just because, Stafford's coming in off injury, but I really like him. Calvin Ridley, if you're going to fade Julio and still want to get a piece of that game because it's going to be high scoring, I think. I think Ridley's a very good value play. And then the guy we touched on just a while ago, McLaurin, pretty cheap. I think, let me get down here. Yeah, he's 5,600. Philly's defense, secondary, not great. They added Slay, but I still think he's going to get volume. And DraftKings being PPR, he gets, 7 catches for 70 yards and at 5,600. maybe score a touchdown, then you're in looking good. So those are the kind of guys I'm looking at right now. If I was going to fade somebody, and I hate to say this because I'm a Cowboys homer, but I'm not too high on Cooper this week. I don't know. I feel like, the Rams are going to try to take that away. We've seen Dak in the past with some accuracy issues. So I think they're really going to make them drive the ball as opposed to the home run plays. So, I see Cooper maybe being okay, but I don't see him being able to get the yardage that he would, just because I think the defense is going to try to take that away and make them, run, 10, 12 plays to score. So that's kind of my take. What are you looking at, Chris? What do you like at wide receiver?
Yeah, so with my build, if you remember, I'm doing a build with Matt Ryan. And with Matt Ryan, I'm definitely going to correlate him with not Julio, but Calvin Ridley. So that lineup's going to have Calvin and Matt Ryan together, or I could do the Matt Ryan and the tight end. We'll get there. Could be the other correlation if I need to go down a little bit further with receivers. But the top tier receivers, as I said, I like Christian McCaffrey. I like Christian McCaffrey. I can't be taking Michael Thomas and Julio. So with that being said, I really like to go down here. I think Galladay is the top play at this range, the 61-62, and Calvin. Galladay, I think, is going to be pretty highly owned. I haven't looked at ownership. I don't know if Price has, but I'm a little worried about that. I like Parker, Miami, just like you, Dustin. But where I think you can really make the money this week and win the $1 million is drafting Henry Ruggs, a 4.27 yard, 40-yard dash. Yes, he went to the University of Alabama, Roll Tide, but at $5,100 with Williams on injured reserve, the coach absolutely loves this guy. And when he fell in love with Walker, the tight end last year, and just sped him the rock. So I think Henry Ruggs should have a really big breakout game. Carolina has a fast defense. The guy from USC, that corner from USC, is quick, but he just gets burned all year long. It's crazy. Jackson down the field. So I really like Henry Ruggs as a breakout game. Yes, he's a rookie, but receivers can have early breakouts. I'm not too worried about that. And then to go down, if I really want to take a lot of studs at running back, to go way down low, you can get in the 4K range and pick Deshaun Jackson.
4,900, right?
Yeah, 4,900. He's
their only weapon.
He's their only weapon. Yeah, and he's so cheap. And I'm not trying to pick Deshaun Jackson in a season-long fantasy league. Last year, week one, he's had a bunch of week one breakout performances. I think the stat is I read he's had 600-yard receiving outings in week one over his career. Last year he played against the same team and torched them, and they've gone nothing but down, I believe, in the secondary from last year. So I really like those two plays. I think those two plays could, if they come through for you, you can win a lot of money. And so I like taking more chances with my receivers and having bell cows at running back. And on a week, if my receivers hit, I'm going to be making some pretty good money. So I'm going to play three running backs and then take some chances at receiver.
I like it. Bryce?
So I'm going to be the opposite. I'm going Julio. So obviously I'm on Russ. I want Julio to bring it back. Obviously Calvin and Hurst are both good options. But if I'm not going to take McCaffrey, I'm going to go stud wide receiver. And I think he can just absolutely tear up this secondary. I think Seattle is a mediocre defense. All they've done is getting older.
They lost Clowney.
Yeah, who went to Tennessee to go destroy Deshaun Watson. Like y'all, I love Galladay. He did pop up on the injury report today with a hamstring.
Yeah, I saw that.
So hopefully it's just minor. But him and Evans both popping up with hamstring injuries. Obviously, last year, Evans, his season was done when he tore his hamstring. But would y'all still be on Ridley if I was telling y'all that he's going to be more owned than Julio?
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, it depends on what I'm playing. If I'm playing cash, which is what I do more of, then I'm fine with it.
You think Deshaun Jackson's going to be highly owned?
He's looking like the highest owned receiver.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think anybody's going to play my boy Jimmy G.
No, not even his own mother. But I really like DK Metcalf coming back to the Seattle-Atlanta game. He's a monster.
Yeah.
Atlanta doesn't have anyone who can match up with him. So if I'm going to take Russ, I want him throwing the ball deep. So obviously him and Lockett are both going to be the deep threats, but Metcalf's just so big. Just throw the ball up. No one can stop him. I thought maybe Odell, but it's kind of a shitty week for him.
You just want to say it's a shitty week for him. Good. Well done. Well played, sir. Who's your fade?
Hopkins.
See?
6,800, new offense, going against the Niners. No thanks.
You're just salty, bro.
No, Hopkins is a big fade. I agree.
But I do think you're right. If you don't go Julio in the top two, you got to go Adams. Adams is going to get 13 targets a game because you're right. Rodgers is going to play pissed off because they drafted his replacement when he specifically asked them to draft skill position players to help him.
Yep.
And they said, no, screw you. Have Alan Lazard and Devontae Adams. Cheap guys, I'm actually going to pass on Deshaun because I'm going to be weird and play the Redskins or the Washington football team's defense. But the cheaper guy I like is Jamison Crowder.
He balled out.
It's PPR. Petterman's hurt, so they don't have a deep threat. Mediocre offensive line, so Donald's going to be under pressure against a good Bills defense, which means he's going to check down a lot. And
he had like 16 targets last year, the first game, or something crazy.
So if you get me a $5,200 guy who gets 12 targets and his catch rate, he gets 10 catches for 80 yards, he pays off. He's almost 4x.
Yep.
Throwing a touchdown, if he goes 5.5x, and he's going to be like 3% owned. I like that. I was going to be like Chris and go Ruggs, but I took Josh Jacobs instead. So I don't really like to stack my or running back and receiver from the same game. Otherwise, I would be all in on Keenan Allen. I don't give a shit. It's Tyrod Taylor because Mike Williams is hurt and probably going to miss the game, which means in the passing game it's going to be Eckler, Allen, and Hunter Henry. They're going to get everything.
Yep.
But other than that, man, it's these cheap guys. It's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like I was excited because I was like, oh, D.D. Westbrook's 4,600. Come to find out, he might not even make the team. They might cut him.
Yeah, for an everyday starter last year.
But I'm super interested to see how Ayuk does for San Fran because he was a monster in college. And to have him going over the top with Debo coming across the middle with Kittle, that could be monstrous for if Jimmy G can throw a deep ball.
I told you Jimmy G's year. They're going to throw the ball this year.
I like Sutton too. I think he's going to have a big year. Drew Lock obviously took some good end of the year weeks.
Yep.
Progressed. I think Sutton will be.
And they did nothing but draft offensive weapons for them.
Yeah.
It could be a really cool, fun offense for Drew Lock to bring in Melvin Gordon, draft Judy. I don't know how the hell you say the tight end's name from Missouri, but have him. But I mean, there's some really interesting. There's gonna be a cheap receiver go off who.
Yeah, always.
So like maybe if you're, on y'all's train of thought, and you're like, hey, we want to attack because the Redskins defense hasn't been good, and we want to use Philly, JJ Arcega-Whiteside.
Yeah.
If you don't want to roll Deshaun, $1,000 cheaper, and it's them two and Greg Ward.
Yeah, I feel like he's gonna kill the tight ends with Goddard and fucking Ertz. I just think they're gonna each get 10 catches each.
Wow. And then Fitzgerald's only 4,500. I mean, interesting to see his role this year, but it's a weird week. Like I said, 3 of the offenses you want to target most weeks aren't on the actual main slate. And then I actually say 4 because on passing attack, Big Ben and Juju, Ebron, like they're going to be people you're going to target too. Or even Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods. So kind of a weird week to have some of the bigger names not be in it. But I'm all in on Julio. Obviously, if I'm going to fade Brady, I'm going to fade Godwin too. And then I don't want to touch Hopkins. But the one guy to keep an eye on for the year, I think, is Thielen. I would hope he has a couple bad games to start, so maybe he drops down to like 6K. Because without Diggs, I think he's going to be good. And now the fun range for all the tight ends where you get Chris's boy, Rob Gronkowski, back in the player pool.
The reason why he says that is I drafted Gronk somehow. I always draft at the very end of the first round. So I would pick him up for no reason. Or in the second round, I would pick him like second round, second pick or something like that.
And he retires for a year, and that's the year Chris wins the championship.
This is true.
So strange.
That's strange. But and luckily I got a lot of Alabama players that are pretty good at football. So I can just draft all of them and do pretty good. Like I drafted Derrick Henry, then came back with Kenyon Drake, and then got Calvin Ridley, I think, in the 4th. So I got my Alabama players all locked up. But for tight ends, I love George Kittle. I love Kittle, and I think he's going to just destroy Simmons. 7,200 is just too much for him. And then tight end, once again, I'm going to go big on running backs. And I want to stay away from the super low receivers. So I gotta dig a little bit deeper. And we've talked about him a couple of times, but Hurst from Atlanta, that is who I am targeting. I really like Matt Ryan Hurst combination. Really, Matt Ryan with Julio or Calvin is good as well. But I like to get Hurst in this matchup. I think it's gonna be a really high scoring game. And so that's who I'm mainly looking at. My biggest fade is Gronk, as Price has been talking about Gronk up a little bit, but
only 4,900.
Bro, I don't care. The only reason why you can even think about Gronk, in my opinion, is that Evans is out. He's going to be out. So, but I think it's OJ Howard's team. I think he's the main tight end.
Not with T.
Player.
Not with T.
I just don't think the week 1 you can just say, look, if Gronk beats me for the $1 million, he can beat me for the $1 million, right? But I'm just not going to bank on that. Chris Herndon, for the Jets, is a player I like to target as well. They don't really have anybody else besides Crowder, right? So I think he's going to get a lot of targets. And that's kind of the 2 players that I'm focusing on. I just can't really get past the Atlanta tight end. I think he's a good value at 4,300 as well. It's kind of where I keep going back to on both of my lineups. And I want to fade Gronk is the player I'm going to fade.
I like I said, the Philly tight ends just because out of necessity. I obviously like Ertz better than Goddard, but Goddard's 4,100. So if you need a cheap tight end play, I think he gets 8 catches. Just based on what they're going to do to Washington. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, but I just think, he likes to target the tight ends there, and I think they're going to be used a lot. An underrated guy, I think, coming in is Jarwin for the Cowboys. I think he has a chance, especially week 1, where all the focus is going to be on, Amari and Zeke to kind of be a sneaky play there and make some noise. I think he can easily score a touchdown. The higher end guys, Zach Ertz, probably the one I'm going to look at the most. Like y'all said, Waller had a great year. probably will again. But I just think due to constraints at wide receiver for the Eagles, that Zach Ertz is going to be the guy this week. So those are kind of mine. The guy I'm going to fade that I'm no chance of taking at his price point is Hooper. They paid him all this money, and then it's just been really weird, like the way the team says they're going to use him. And I don't know. To me, I'm like, I'll just wait and see. Plus, they're playing the Ravens, who have a great defense. So I'm going to fade Hooper this week.
That's a great fade.
See how that turns out.
I'm the opposite. I'm going to fade Ertz because you know who's back for the Washington defense? Who's going to lock his ass down?
Reuben Foster.
Reuben fucking Foster. For those of you who don't know, because he was out last year, he is a monster middle linebacker who's as fast as a fucking wide receiver. He's going to knock Ertz's head off. The Washington front seven is so much better than anyone gives them credit for with their nasty fucking defensive line and getting Foster back. That's going to be when we get into bets. My upset of the week, them. I'm using their defense this week because I think the Eagles' offense is shit without their receivers. They're also missing their starting right guard and their starting left tackle.
True.
So who's going to stop Jonathan Allen? Nobody. I would say if I wasn't using Jacobs, Waller would be the tight end I would cram into everything because, I mean, obviously Carr likes him. His breakout year last year, he did great. If Mike Williams does end up missing, Hunter Henry could be a really sneaky play at 5,300. I would be all in on Hurst, but I'm going to go Julio instead. The only other two, if Galladay does end up missing, Hawkinson would be a plug-and-play for me. But my cheap guy I'm using is Jack Doyle. Only 3,600.
Yeah.
And Trey Burton is out, and Ebron left. So he's the only pass-catching tight end. Rivers obviously isn't mobile, so if the Jags do get pressure on him, he's going to have to check down. And I don't feel like Hilton or Paris Campbell are like check down receivers really. So it'd be Mack or Doyle. And I see him trusting Doyle to actually catch the ball. But I do like your call on Herndon as well, Chris. He's sneaky good whenever he's healthy. He just is never on the field.
Yeah.
Yep.
But besides Crowder, he's good.
Yeah. The defense price, though, the way you explained that with week 1 at 2,000 is just a stud. That's such a great play. The cheap as you can go defense, who is absolutely going to score the most points for you.
Especially given the Eagles they're hurting right now. I mean, you haven't even started the season.
And so, like, Washington's secondary isn't very good, obviously. But at 2,000, so obviously my premise is the Eagles' offensive line is banged up. Washington has a great front seven. They're getting back an elite linebacker who can cover the middle and try and cover Ertz. So if you can get 4 sacks, it has one of the lowest game totals. So you get 4 or 5 sacks, maybe Winston throws 1 pick. So there's 7 points right there. It's not a high game total. So you get me 12, 14 points off 2K. I mean, that's a fucking win right there, especially week 1 where, I mean, what other defense do you want to use? Obviously, the Eagles against the Redskins because they're terrible. But
I think Haskins could do some good things this year. But I would say the next level up would be the Chargers defense because rookie quarterback Joe Burrow, first week, Cincinnati has, I think that's a good play, but it's at 2,800. So you're saving $800. But
I had them until Derwin James got hurt.
Yeah.
Because he is an elite fucking safety. And I was with you. Like Joe Burrow, rookie quarterback coming in. You got Bosa and Melvin Ingram running down your fucking throat, trying to kill you. And then you got to throw it up and watch out for – they have the best secondary in the league when they're healthy. Yeah. They brought in Chris Harris. They have Derwin. Like, they're studs. But
yeah, Cincinnati's offensive line is very unproven too. So if for whatever reason you had a lot of savings and you wanted to go that route, that's where I would go personally. But I'm all in. I think a lot of people are going to be all in on the Washington defense as well. It's not going to just be us. So
I think the sneaky D is the Saints against Tom Brady. At home, Superdome. You got an immobile quarterback with a shitty line that's, 40-something years old on a new offense. I mean, I just think a lot of a more bad can happen than good. We know defenses are always ahead of offenses, especially given no preseason. So I think that could be
those workout videos that Tom Brady was posting.
What do y'all think about the Colts defense against the Jags?
Yeah. I mean, the Colts have been actually had a pretty good defenses. They, I mean,
what
are the Jags going to do?
How am I going to spend $1,000 more on that over the Washington? I just can't justify that.
And to be fair, I'm always a play cheap defense person, because usually the variance between like the bottom defense and pricing and top, where it's 1,500 to 2,000 in pricing. I mean, unless it's like a trash defense playing in like the Saints offense, obviously then you're not going to touch that. But
yeah.
I mean, just to get the savings, because you just need a couple sacks and then not to get 40 dropped on them, and they pay off.
Yep.
And that savings there lets me move from Calvin Ridley to Julio.
Yep.
So based on lineup configuration, that's what I want to do. I want to have a cheap defense, a cheap tight end, so I can get a good receiver or a good quarterback, a couple good receivers, and good running backs.
Agree. So let's wrap this thing up. We've been going at it for a while. I think this is our first football pod. Let us know in the comment if you're still here. Bravo to you, and you better make a comment. If you've been at this long, just say Texas is back. I appreciate it. But
get ready for the Texans to win tomorrow night.
But get ready to rumble. We're gonna have a lot of fun this football season. Check us out, DFS Dads. You could join our Slack as well. It's a good time. Ask all of your questions. We're here to answer and help you make some money. All right. We're out.